The stone floor beneath Tyrion Lannister's back felt like the chilled underside of a mountain. Every ridge of slate, another reminder that the world above carried on without him. Dawn's first breath seldom reached the sky cells, yet he felt it in the faintest easing of the night air's bite, a subtle shift that pricked the hairs on his forearms and coaxed him from the thin sleep of the hopeless. He rolled onto one elbow, glancing to the lip of the tilt floor where a single misstep would send him tumbling into cloud-swallowed oblivion. The yawning blue still glimmered invitingly, but the sweet promise of plummeting release no longer held the same lure. Each passing day in Lady Lysa's lofty prison had woven stubborn threads of survival through the fabric of his pride, and the thought of surrender, of granting Cat Stark so neat an ending, rankled too deeply to indulge. He forced stiff legs beneath him and rose, pacing to the far wall where the mortar crumbled at a touch. His fingers sifted loose grit, tracing the faded grooves he had carved during restless hours. Serpents coiling around a lion, a crude map of the Trident, a list of debts he would someday see paid. When footfalls sounded along the outer corridor, 3 sets, measured, armored. Tyrion stepped back from the etchings, shoulders angling to greet his daily jailer with practiced disdain. Ser Vardis Aegon halted before the door, flanked by 2 Vale men-at-arms whose crimson cloaks fell in crisp pleats. The knight's eyes were oceans away from mirth. "Lady Lysa invites you to break your fast," Ser Vardis announced. "Invites?" Tyrion echoed. "Such civility. I presume the drop is still complimentary." The knight did not bother to scowl. He turned his key, swung the door inward, and nodding at the cell's incline, whispered, "Mind your footing, my lord." Tyrion's smirk flickered. "Still my lord, then." And he followed, bare feet slapping cold stone as he limped through passages where tapestries sagged like aging skin. Lamps guttered in niches, casting tarnished silver light upon the gray. He found Cat Stark waiting in Lysa's audience hall. No guards at her shoulders, no steel gleam across her lap. Sunlight fell through high windows, kissing the auburn strands threading her hair, revealing faint, sleepless smudges beneath eyes, the color of northern skies before snowfall. She stood beside a long table where 2 earthenware bowls steamed, the rich smell of spiced oats curling on the air. "Tyrion." She greeted softly. "Lady Stark." He bowed with theatrical gravity, pausing long enough to feel the weight of her gaze pressing every joint. "To what do I owe the honor?" "Not surely a confession. I seem to have misplaced my guilt." "Then..." Cat Stark did not rise to the bait. "Sit," she said. "Eat. You will need your strength." "Strength," Tyrion murmured, lowering himself onto the bench opposite. "Strength for what, I wonder?" He tasted the porridge. It burned his tongue before surrendering flavors of cinnamon and honey. For a heartbeat, the simple warmth on his palate transported him to childhood mornings in Casterly Rock's kitchens, where a dwarfish boy had stolen sweet mouthfuls, while cooks laughed behind their aprons. He swallowed memories with the oats and forced himself to study Cat Stark's face. There, in the set of her jaw, lay something brittle, an uncertainty that confounded the certainty in her capture of him days earlier upon that smoky inn's threshold. "You have not asked for trial by combat again," she said, folding her hands. "Why?" "Because your sister made plain what victory would cost me. Flight." Tyrion dabbed at his lips with a cloth. "I have no taste for heights, my lady, nor for flinging my fate upon sellsword steel in a skyborn tilt yard. I will not dance for Lysa Arryn's amusement." "Now." "And so you stay." Cat clenched her fingers together. "Do you know what is happening in the Riverlands? Your father has marshaled forces. Lord Tully's bannermen report Lannister banners ranging as far as Pink Maiden." Tyrion's spoon slowed. "Does he now? That seems premature." "Premature." Her voice cracked like frost. "My lord father lies bedridden from a sudden fever. My brother rides to rally the lords of the Trident. The realm edges toward war, and all for the whim of a dwarf's wanderings. Bow. For your husband's honor, Tyrion corrected gently. For the dagger that never belonged to me. That blade cut my son's future in two. Yet not his life, Tyrion said. You have that grace to thank the gods for. Bran lives. Alive is not unscarred, she returned, but softer. She inhaled, lashes trembling. I will not weigh children's wounds against each other over breakfast. How merciful. Tyrion set spoon to bowl. Tell me, Lady Stark, what purpose is there in my prolonged captivity? Your sister delights in torment, but lacks appetite for conclusion. And you? Nam? Cat turned her face aside where sunlight warmed pale stone columns. When she spoke, her voice carried the hush of prayer. I wish to set truth before Lysa. I wish to see the matter judged in daylight. Ah. Well, that daylight has turned to dusk, Tyrion said. And while we linger here beneath fluttering falcons, those lions you mentioned stretch their claws across the riverlands. When they burn crops, starvation will sit your small folks' hearths. When they raise castles, widowhood will dine at southern tables. I wager Lord Tywin's patience wanes by the hour. Menaberu. I know my enemy, Cat whispered, but her shoulders sagged as though the admission bled strength. And if you are innocent, Tyrion's brows jumped. If, then we barter hostages with devils. Devils pay in gold, Tyrion said. Gold buys swords. Swords carve peace. He watched her, letting the notion breathe. Allow me parchment and quill. I will write to my brother Jaime, to Queen Cersei, even to Lord Tywin, if it please you. I will pledge ransom worthy of a princess for my safe return. Cat's eyes clouded. Ransom is coin, she murmured. Coin dissolves when spent. A son's life is a life. My lord husband languishes in King's Landing surrounded by vipers, his leg split by your nephew's pet direwolf. Joffrey's, Tyrion said with mild correction. The wolves have teeth enough. Eddard took that wound in the Queen's service, Cat went on. Yet no healing at court can mend treachery. She leaned forward, voice low. Swear, on your honor as a Lannister, that you played no part in Bran's fall. Tyrion met her. I swear on my honor and on my mother's memory. A shard of sorrow pierced him. Joanna's smile flickered like candlelight. I swear by the gold of Casterly Rock and by the Iron Throne itself. I ordered no harm to the boy. Cat Stark closed her eyes. Long moments passed in silent stillness. At length she rose, smoothing skirts. Finish eating. Ser Vardis will escort you to a more suitable chamber than the Sky Cells. You remain my guest until I decide our next step. He inclined his head. Guest. Such generosity. May I expect a feather bed? Now. I will settle for ensuring you see another dawn. With that, Cat walked away, her footsteps echoing down the pillared hall, until only the thrum of wind through high slits remained. Tyrion breathed slow, tasting each lungful of cool air as though it were vintage arbor red. He felt, unexpectedly, lighter, as though some tether binding him to a cliff's edge had loosened. Yet peril stalked behind every promise. If Cat resolved to keep him, House Lannister would come as sure as winter. War had many appetites, but vengeance was the hungriest. 2 leagues beyond the Red Fork, where willows dipped green fingers into lazy water, Sir Jaime Lannister dismounted to regard the burnt remnants of a farmhouse. Smoke still drifted from blackened beams, swirling around a half-collapsed roof. Wheat from trampled barrels mixed with singed straw to form a bitter porridge across the courtyard. A lone rooster wandered amidst the ruin, crowing confusion at a sky washed pale by noon. Jaime nudged it aside with his boot and strode toward a figure crouched beside the well. "Report," he said. The captain straightened. Saluted. "4 dead, my lord. Farmer, wife, and 2 lads. Throat cut. Deady. Ironborn method, though we found no Kraken sigil." His mouth twisted. Could be Sellsword's playing at terror. Jaime knelt to inspect the corpses. Lips blue, skin already absorbing the heat of midday. Flies swarmed the gore like black petals. "Search for survivors?" None, sir. We did find this. The captain produced a sliver of cloth from a saddlebag. Deep blue wool painted with crescent moons. House Tully's colors. A plant, Jaime muttered, rubbing the fabric between thumb and forefinger. Lord Tywin's orders were precise. Harry the Tully lands until they saw Lannister crimson at every horizon. But framing Tully men for butchery reeked of clumsy malice. Not father's measured cruelty. These theatrics bore Cersei's flair, or perhaps that of some hedge knight eager to impress his liege. He looked east, where the rising walls of Riverrun gleamed beyond treeline. "Leave the dead," Jaime said, mounting again. "We ride within the hour. And Captain, send scouts to the Eyrie. I would know if my brother sits high in Lady Erin's Eyrie still, if Tyrion suffers harm." The captain bowed. "We'll find him, sir." Jaime kicked his destrier into motion, hooves pounding dirt. Smoke and songbirds scattered. The Kingslayer's cloak whipped behind him like molten gold, and within his breast a heat rivaled summer noon. Rage, yes, but fear too. A child's dread of losing the only sibling who ever looked upon him, without judgment. In King's Landing, Ned Stark woke drenched in fever sweat. The maester's posset tasted of sour pear and rot as he forced it past cracked lips. Beside his bedside sat Sansa, her lemon-scented hair veiling tears she tried to mask for his sake. Septa Mordane murmured prayers. The faint clangor of distant hammers repairing the hand's tourney lists drifted through the open shutters. Ned's thoughts roamed the miles to the Vale where Cat held Tyrion. The news of his wife's capture of the imp had struck King's Landing like lightning, sparking rumors wild and fierce. Cersei's green eyes had flashed with serpentine delight when she demanded the dwarf's safe return. Robert, sodden with wine, had laughed it off as women's folly. Now each raven from the Eyrie hung over court like a blade, and Ned, bound to bed by pain, felt every ticking hour like a heartbeat in his broken leg. If war came, the north was too far. He could not march on crutches. He needed peace, needed proof of the boy's attempted murder, needed the name of the true owner of that Valyrian dagger. But without Tyrion's voice, whether in innocence or confession, truth remained cloaked. He drifted into half-dream where Winterfell's godswood whispered of wolves running beneath moonlight and children free of courts. When he woke again, night had fallen, and Renly Baratheon stood at the foot of his bed wearing an expression both earnest and urgent. "Lord Stark," Renly said, voice low, "I bring word. Lord Stannis sails for Dragonstone. He means to gather ships, to claim what he believes is rightfully his." Ned's heart stuttered. "Robert knows." "Not yet." Renly glanced at the door. "There's more. The Queen's men observe you closely. I fear Cersei prepares something decisive. Against me. Against the realm." Renly took a step nearer. "I offer an alliance. You have the North. I have the reach of my brother's bannermen, and the love of the small folk. Together we can—" Ned raised a trembling hand. "Enough. I am not well. I will not plot usurpation from a sickbed." Renly's mouth tightened. "Then our enemies will plot in your stead." Across the room Sansa wept quietly into her shawl. Ned closed his eyes, seeing again the red coals of war glowing at every horizon. Lannister lions, Baratheon stags, Tully trout. Somewhere above, Tyrion Lannister remained a prisoner, and the key to peace rusted in Cat's uncertain grasp. Within the Eyrie solar, Cat Stark contemplated maps scattered across a marble table. Blue-black rivers vined parchment like icy branches. She pressed fingertips to the spot marking the crossing, hearing Lord Walder Frey's oily voice in memory, weighing each possible outrage he might exact for neutrality. She traced further west to where Lannister hosts swelled. Her breath caught when she saw the trident, picturing the water turning sanguine once more. Behind her, the door creaked. Tyrion limped in, escorted by Ser Vardis, but garbed now in a clean doublet of umber, suede decorated with silver studs. He looked smaller without chains, yet somehow more dangerous, like a cat unhooded but still leashed. "Lady Stark," he said, "you sent for me." "We talk terms," Cat answered, motioning to a chair. "Sit." Tyrion lowered himself. Terms imply mutual concession. What will you grant? Your life, Cat said simply. And your freedom, if you aid me in averting war. His brow arched. You ask me to betray my family? I ask you to speak truth, she said. Stand before my sister's court and proclaim your innocence. Detail the dagger's true owner, and swear before all the veil that House Stark bears you, no ill will. Lysa will not dare defy a hall of lords and ladies united under witness. And if the truth condemns my sister or cousin, Cat's eyes glinted, then let judgment fall where it may. Tyrion drummed short fingers on armrest. Cersei would flay me with her eyes alone. Jaime might break half the realm to pry me from your walls. Then let us send ravens first, Cat urged, announcing a peace council at River Run. Tully, Stark, Arryn, Lannister. A neutral ground to hear claims. Then Nebaralsor. Tyrion laughed, a brittle saw-edge sound. Neutral? My father would sooner sup with a kraken. Your father loves gold above all else, Cat pressed. Offer him a ransom triple what any sellsword could dream. Offer marriage alliance. My sister's son Robert Arryn needs a strong house protection. There are possibilities. Tyrion gazed at her across candlelit shadows, weighing risk like a merchant appraising gems. You gamble on the honor of a lion. I gamble on your intelligence, Cat said. You know war will carve souls from bone on both sides. Innocence will pay for pride. This path spares lives. Silence bloomed. Tiresome minutes passed. Finally, Tyrion exhaled. I will write the letters. I will attend your council if I walk out of this mountain alive. But I require one pledge. Name it. Safe conduct for my man Bronn, who is loyal in his way. And a cask of red from the arbor, vintage 98 if your cellars can abide. Her mouth twitched. Done. He nodded, stood, and with a slight bow departed, cloak brushing the threshold. Cat leaned on the table, lungs fluttering as though she had crossed a rope bridge in storm. She felt the first gust of something like hope. Fragile, yes, but alive. Beyond the open balcony, the sky stretched endless and keen. Its azure depths hiding storms yet unseen. And far below, the rivers wound southward, carrying rumor, fear, and the scent of blood toward every shore. At River Run's western wall, Catelyn's brother Edmure watched smoke rise from distant villages and ground teeth against the taste of cedar ash on the wind. Ravens flapped from Maester's tower hourly, each message darker than the last. Beric Dondarrion's sortie had vanished near the Mummer's Ford. Lord Tywin moved 2,000 spears across the tumblestone. Night after night, Edmure walked ramparts, wearing grooved paths in the stone, imagining war horses trampling autumn fields, where children once chased fireflies. One dusk a fresh raven arrived bearing Tyrion Lannister's neat hand. Edmure read it thrice beneath torch glow, disbelief turning to wary wonder. It proposed a conclave under guest right, promising that Lord Tywin would send the dwarfs Uncle Sir Kevan and 60 men as escort, no more. Edmure sought the Blackfish's counsel. Sir Brynden eyed the parchment as though it stank of trap. Kevan is Tywin's steel sheath, Brynden warned. Smooth, unyielding, never parted from the blade. Yet Tywin consents, Edmure argued. Is that not something? It is bait. The Blackfish's voice rasped like riverstone. Lord Tywin will feign peace to buy time while his legions close jaws upon us. Edmure's shoulders sagged. Then what course? Fight blindly? Bleed until winter? Bedine. The Blackfish touched his nephew's arm. We gather bannermen. We send word to Robb at Winterfell. If the river must be defended, let it be by those willing to drown in its waters. Edmure swallowed. The idea of summoning the young wolf stirred dread yet also distant pride. But before ravens flew north, another courier arrived, a Vale Knight bearing the crest of House Arryn with tidings that shook River Run's halls. Tyrion Lannister en route to the Tully seat, under Cat Stark's protection, to face council. Edmure stared at the knight's polished helm, reflected firelight. 7, save us, he whispered. This dwarf paints himself a diplomat. Or a dagger, Brynden muttered. Pointed where we least expect. In the shadowed tunnels beneath Casterly Rock, Lord Tywin strode past columns carved into roaring lions, each paw clutching a crystal lantern. He paused before a narrow doorway where wet forging heat spilled across the threshold. Inside, sparks danced over anvils as armorers hammered breastplates whose rivets glowed like embers. Tywin lifted a completed helm. Gold lacquered, wrought into a snarling lion's visage, the eye slits narrowed to malignant slavers. My lord. Maester Catelyn hovered nearby. Scrolls clasped, white-knuckled. A raven from the Eyrie. Tywin turned slowly. Yes. Your son Tyrion proposes a peace council at Riverrun. He requests Sir Kevan as envoy, promises full ransom upon safe return. Tywin's silence weighed heavier than stone. At length, he set the helm down with deliberate care. Draft reply. Sir Kevan will go. 12 knights, 40 men at arms, no more. Accept a council. End. Catelyn blinked. Startled. My lord. Shall I note terms, demands? Note nothing, Maester. Council first, then demands. Tywin's eyes were chips of ice. Warn Kevan. Observe. Listen. Speak little. War may win finer tribute than talks. As the maester scurried away, Tywin turned back to the helm. In the forge's glow, the lion seemed almost alive, its fangs glistening with molten threat. He slid fingers across the polished brow. Lions, he murmured, do not bargain with sheep. Yet sometimes, he conceded, they stalk close, sniffing weakness before the kill. Tyrion's carriage jostled along the high road skirting the Red Fork, its wheels chewing mud strewn with autumn leaves. Bronn rode ahead, scanning hedgerows, while Micah the sellsword followed rear guard. Within velvet-lined gloom, Tyrion composed speeches in his mind, each phrase a coin to purchase survival. Cat Stark sat across from him, cloaked in wolf gray trimmed with dove-white silk. Her silence wove an unbroken thread between them. Do you regret it? Tyrion asked after many miles, voice soft beneath rattling axles. Regret? Cat echoed. Seizing me, he traced condensation on the window pane. A single impulsive act born of fear for your boy. Has it not summoned ruin upon half the realm? She did not flinch. I would cross 10 hells for my children. Would you not? Indeed. Though my hells wear satin sheets. He sighed. I hold no grudge, if that pleases. It does not. She lifted chin. I care little for your grudges. I care for the cost of my choices. Tyrion regarded her anew, seeing beneath her stern veneer a vein of self-reproach that reminded him of Jaime in rare reflective moods. Then let us ensure the cost ends here, he murmured. 8. Riverrun. Outside, thunder muttered along the horizon, clouds bruising purple. Rain began as a whisper on the roof, grew to a drum that drowned hooves. The party pushed on until the fortress lights shimmered across swollen waters, torches mirrored like wavering stars. They arrived past dusk. Edmure greeted his sister with fierce embrace, casting wary glances at the dwarf. The Blackfish offered curt nod. Tyrion bowed low, jesting half-heartedly about river trout, feasting on lion flesh. No laughter answered. That night, in a guest room overlooking torchlit currents, Tyrion uncorked a flagon of Arbor Red. He drank sparingly, savoring notes of plum and smoke. Rain battered shutters as though demanding entry. He listened to storm and wondered which was less forgiving, sky or men. The council convened at noon 2 days later in Riverrun's great hall, banners of warring houses drooping in damp air. On a dais stood Cat Stark, Edmure, Brynden Blackfish. To their right, Kevan Lannister, stoic in crimson cape. Beside him, Tyrion flanked by Bronn. Maester Vyman officiated, recording each word, quill scratching parchment like a restless moth. Cat began with recitation of events. Bran's fall, assassination attempt, Tyrion's arrest. She yielded floor to Tyrion who, under a dozen scrutinizing stares, detailed purchase of the dagger by another at Joffrey's betting whim. Gasps rippled as names emerged. The Queen's son, the King's heir. Kevin's jaw tightened though he said nothing. Blackfish's eyes flashed. Edmure shifted uncomfortably. Kevin spoke next, disclaiming all knowledge of regicidal plots, but promising House Lannister's cooperation in fair inquiry should Tyrion return unharmed. Then Edmure read a letter from King Robert, recently arrived, commanding all lords to cease hostilities pending investigation. Yet Robert's seal seemed smudged, his words slurred with wine even in ink, and those present murmured doubts. The hall swelled with tension until Cat Stark offered proposal. Each house withdraw troops 10 leagues from Tully borders. Prisoners exchanged. A joint delegation ride to King's Landing to present findings. Brynden glared but held tongue. Kevin nodded once. Tyrion inhaled relief. The first domino had toppled not toward war, but wary peace. But fate is an unkind jester. Before parchments could be signed, a breathless scout burst through doors. Mud splattered to waist. "Kingslayer," he bellowed. "Sir Jaime rides on River Run with 3,000 men. Half a day's march." Chaos ignited. Kevin spun, eyes wide. Edmure cursed. Blackfish barked commands to armsmen. Tyrion's wine turned to ash on his tongue. Jaime, driven by brotherly fury, had outpaced ravens and reason both. He was coming. Sword naked, heart ablaze. Cat Stark met Tyrion's gaze across the turmoil. In her eyes burned the terrible clarity of choice. Keep the dwarf, shut gates fight, or release him at once to calm the storm. She stepped forward, voice cutting din like steel. "Sir Vardis," she cried, "prepare horses. Tyrion Lannister rides under my banner to treat with his brother. None shall harm him by my honor as a Stark." The hall fell stunned. Tyrion felt breaths he did not know he held shudder-free. Outside, thunder's echo melted into the roar of gathering shields. Lightning forked sky, illuminating the river fortress where, on ramparts, archers knocked shafts glittering silver. War had arrived despite all counsel, wearing the face of love disguised as vengeance. They galloped at dawn. Tyrion, Bronn, Sir Vardis, and a dozen Stark riders bearing direwolf standards. Mist clung to low fields where crows pecked at corpses of skirmish scouts already slain. Tyrion's stomach churned. He strained eyes for the golden lion banners ahead, soon spotting them rippling beyond a ridgeline like flickering tongues of flame. "Hold," he commanded, hand aloft. They reined in. Tyrion dismounted, removed gloves, and walked forward alone, gait unsteady yet unwavering. From the Lannister vanguard, Jaime emerged astride a white courser, gilded armor gleaming beneath sunrise. He swung down, letting reins drop, and strode across muddy ground until 10 paces separated brothers. "Tyrion," Jaime called, voice raw with relief and wrath entwined. "They did not break you." "Only my patience," Tyrion quipped, though his smile trembled. "Brother, you ride hard. The Blackfish might think you lust for his trout." Jaime's grin flashed then died. "I ride for you. Come, let us quit this cursed river." "Ma'am Sao." Tyrion raised a palm. "First swear, you will withdraw your host 8 leagues, allow parleys to resume. The Starks mean treat, not treachery," says the man held captive. Jaime's eyes flicked to Stark riders. "Swear to me you come freely." "I do," Tyrion said. "By the gods old and new." Jaime's gaze softened. He stepped closer. Mud sucked at boots. "Then mount. We'll talk terms." As they turned, horns sounded from both lines. Low, mournful. The signal of truce. Men exhaled, lowering spears. Tyrion closed his eyes against sudden sting. War's first breath had exhaled without a scream. Yet even as peace teased the horizon, far to the south twin towers rose above the green fork. The twins, where Walder Frey watched ravens cross his skies and counted future tolls. In the east dragons stirred in dreams of smoke and salt. In the north, white winds whispered of ancient hungers waking. All the realm balanced upon the fragile thread of a dwarf's step, and threads, Tyrion knew, frayed fastest in storm. He urged horse beside Jaime's, heart pounding with more fear than he had ever felt in any sky cell. Above, light bled across clouds like spilled wine, and the riverlands glistened with dew so bright it might have been tears. The game would open anew. Stones set, players seated, but for this single moment the board held its breath. And Tyrion Lannister, smallest piece upon it, rode between warring kings and mother's grief, hoping that wit and wine might yet outmatch steel and fire. And so the wheel turned, slow, inexorable, its creak echoing through castle yards and small-folk villages alike. Ravens bore tidings of truce, of tentative council reconvened. Yet ravens also carried darker news, of Renly Baratheon calling banners in Highgarden's fragrant fields, of Stannis forging loyalty with blacksmiths clang at Dragonstone, of ironborn sails prowling western waves. Castles emptied, roads filled, grain stores dwindled. Within Riverrun's walls, Cat Stark prayed beneath a sept-cracked dome, candles guttering around her folded hands. She asked the Seven for Bran's healing, for Sansa's safety, for Arya's return, for Jon's protection atop the wall. She prayed for Ned, for the mending of his shattered leg and the guarding of his honorable heart against the Queen's subtle knives. And she prayed, finally, for Tyrion Lannister, the last man she expected to bear upon her soul. Prayed that his words might soothe a brother's rage, that his clever tongue might weave peace where swords had only severed. In King's Landing, Ned Stark rose from his sickbed at last, cane in hand, pain stiff as iron. He learned of truce with wary relief, yet shadows lengthened at court. Varys whispered of bastards hidden in Fleabottom. Littlefinger smirked behind every coin. Ned walked the scorched halls of power, burdened by secrets he had never wished to uncover. Jaime Lannister, encamped outside River Run, received his brother each sunset for cups of mead and long discussions of deerwolves and daggers. Wariness lingered between lion and wolf lines, but no arrows flew. Still, each morning Jaime trained knights in killing forms, steel ringing a promise that mercy had limits. And Tyrion, ever the chessman, wrote letters deep into night by candle stub. To father, to Cersei, to Jon Arryn's old allies, even, a risky stroke, to Robb Stark at Winterfell. He spun webs of logic, coaxing, cajoling, warning. Some letters might ignite wrath, others, hope. Yet he sent them all, trusting that words like arrows could fly straighter than men if loose true. But peace crafted in parchments is brittle. Across narrow seas Daenerys Targaryen felt her child quicken beneath ruby silk, and dreamed of iron chairs. North of the wall, ghosts' howl pierced aurora-lit frost, while Jon Snow shivered in haunted forests. In Pike, Balon Greyjoy fingered tide-soaked maps, and remembered the taste of crown. Thus ends the first turning of the tale wherein Tyrion never confessed before Lysa's Moondor, wherein captivity bred councils and councils bred fragile stays of blood. In quiet midnight hours, when torches gutter low and sentries nod, the Seven Kingdoms hold a single tenuous breath. Before the storm that patience can only postpone breaks loose with thunder, none may command. Tyrion tasted the promise of dawn in the thin mist curling off the red fork before any cock crowed. Cold vapor beaded on the lacquer of Jaime's armor as they stood side by side above the Lannister camp, watching fog boil across the riverbank and swallow the torch-lit encampments beyond. From the northern shore came the creak of drawbridge chains as River Run's wardens raised the massive timbers for the night. From the southern oats a horse nickered, restless at scents of steel and sweat that never quite drifted away. Spears glittered faintly where sentries paced. Banners drooped like weary flames. War had paused, not ended, and every man knew pauses ended with a trumpet's breath. Jaime flexed his gauntleted fingers. Edmure has riders patrolling the river every league. I only see them because they want me to. His smile was a sword edge. Our uncle whistles peace, but that trout tosses hooks beneath every ripple. And our father reads every ripple as invitation, Tyrion replied. He balanced on a sawn stump, eye level with Jaime. We must write him again. Pleasanter ink, firmer promises. Jaime's gaze slid from water to brother. He hears only steel. Peace looks weak when hammered on an anvil meant for swords. Tyrion swung short legs, boots thudding hollow wood. Weak is losing both sons to pride. Remind him. A gust tugged crimson cloak and wolf-gray mantle alike, where Stark outriders mingled with Lannister guards along the perimeter. That mingling still felt wrong to many. Every glance carried tension, as if men feared the wrong breath might spark a melee that swords could never quench. But the mingling held. Kevan says Cat Stark will ride across this afternoon, Jaime noted. She wants terms set before nightfall. She wants promises etched before her brother does something bold and stupid, Tyrion corrected. Edmure's temper outweighs his spearline. Jaime snorted. And my temper? Sharp as ever, but pointed correctly. For once. Tyrion hopped down, cloak swishing. I'll draft father's letter myself. You attach your seal. A dwarf's plea alone might vanish within his contempt. They returned through rows of silent tents, stepping around low fires where men dreamt of home or doom. Tyrion's mind measured words. Phrases that soothed Tywin yet nudged him toward delay. Flattery enough to keep Cersei's claws sheathed. Acknowledgments of Jaime's battlefield discretion. Lie some truths perhaps. In war, ink must serve like armor. Inside his pavilion, Bronn lounged on a camp chair, whittling a twig to a point. Morning, the sellsword grunted. Blackfish has riders downriver. Tricky bastard might swim under us next. He can swim to the free cities for all I care, Tyrion said. So long as he swims past the letter I'll send with him. Bronn raised a brow. You still think paper will bend swords? It might bend the sword hand, Tyrion said, shrugging off his cloak. And that buys time, which buys options, which buys survival. Fetch wax, red not black, and a fresh quill. While Bronn rummaged, Tyrion sat and smoothed a blank parchment. He let the candle's glow pool, golden across fibers, as thoughts aligned like soldiers on parade. Jaime lingered behind his chair, the familiar weight of protective silence pressing Tyrion's back. He wrote, PGSQL. Father, your son writes to confirm his safety under guest right at River Run, and to plead necessity for restraint. Hostilities have ceased by virtue of Lady Stark's honor and Sir Kevan's diplomacy. The Wolfpack circles, but has not yet bitten. Should we unsheath claws too swiftly, we risk driving the Riverlords wholly into our enemy's arms, and foregoing gains achievable by treaty. I urge a march no closer than Harrenhal, until parley concludes. Let the trout stew in dread while we fish for larger prizes, King's Landing's ear, the Vale's Eyries, Winterfell's distant gold. A battle won too soon may cost us 3, we could win for certain with patience. I and Sir Jaime pledge to render River Run pliable by word. Steel need only close when peace fails beyond mending. Your obedient son, Tyrion of House Lannister. He slid the sheet toward Jaime. Add a flourish, he said. Father likes flourishes when a Kingslayer pens them. Jaime took quill, appended his name in looping script, and then beneath added 2 terse lines of his own. Brother recovered. Camp secure. Await instructions. Wax dripped. Impression of lion pressed. As Bronn summoned a courier, Tyrion poured Dornish red. He lifted 1 cup to Jaime. To flourishes that stay swords. Jaime touched rim. And to little brothers who barter days. Edmure Tully rubbed bloodshot eyes as Cat entered his solar atop River Run's high tower. Maps littered the table. Blue rivers, red troop arrows, tiny wafer stones for house sigils. Outside stone-arched windows roared the tumblestone. Swirling swollen by autumn rains. Cat's cloak dripped from the ride back across the drawbridge. She felt water seeping into her boots but ignored it. Jaime returned Tyrion at sunrise, Edmure said by way of greeting. No blades drawn. Unnatural. He jabbed a finger at tiny golden tokens clustered south of the Red Fork. Yet they dig trenches. How many days until Lannister patience snaps? Fewer if we provoke them, Cat replied. She peeled off wet gloves. Peace is a blade's width. Hold that blade steady. Edmure's jaw clenched. I'll steady it when Tywin withdraws. He may, said Cat. If we offer terms worth more than stone and fish. Edmure scoffed, but gestured at parchment. Your dwarf proposes ransom 10,000 dragons. Hardly worth a miller's daughter to Tywin. Then let Tywin set the ransom, Cat countered. It is not gold he craves, it is leverage. Leverage he gains by taking River Run. Edmure pushed tokens north. Blackfish councils sending Robb word to call banners. Cat stiffened. The thought of her eldest riding south still sliced her heart, but every letter from Winterfell spoke of Robb increasingly suited to command, gray wind growing restive. Robb may need to march regardless, she admitted. Yet if we keep Jaime's host idle, Robb can cross Moat Cailin before Lannister spears meet him. The solar door creaked. Brynden Blackfish entered, gray hair damp, hawk eyes bright. Catelyn, he said. A raven from King's Landing arrived by fast galley. He handed a damp scroll sealed with Baratheon crowned stag. Robert's better scribes still pen for him. Cat broke seal. Ink blurred where water had spotted parchment, but words loomed clear. V. Binet, Lord Eddard Stark, charged with treason, confined to keep pending trial, sentenced of arraignment to follow. Endero. She read twice, thrice. The sentence seared. Edmure cursed. Brendan's face hardened into carved granite. They accuse Ned. Cat whispered. Rage rose swift, hot. For what crime? Blackfish spat. For keeping honor where vipers nest. Cersei moves. Cat's world swayed. Ned. A captive. The realm tipping. We must free him. She breathed. Hostagee for hostages. Tyrion for Eddard. Lannisters hold Ned. Edmure asked. Not yet, Cat said, voice sharpening. He sits in Robert's dungeons, but Cersei's talons clutch the keys. And Robert, her fist trembled. Robert is lost to wine and hunting. Then Tyrion is worthless, Edmure said. The Queen will trade nothing. Cat's mind raced. Then Jaime, she said. Jaime for Ned. She met Blackfish's gaze. We take the Kingslayer prisoner. Edmure blanched. In camp near our gates? Impossible. His escort is triple ours. Blackfish's lips twitched into a predator's smile. Not in camp. On the road. Jaime rides survey after dusk, near unguarded safe squires. Give me 50 archers and a foggy night. Cat closed eyes, thinking of chains and swords and ravens. She saw Ned kneeling before the Iron Throne, Valyrian steel poised above neck. She saw Sansa's frightened tears, Arya missing in filthy streets, Bran staring from Winterfell ramparts. We cannot risk open betrayal, she said at last. If Jaime dies, father dies, Ned dies, all die. We must coax him into our hall under guest right, then hold him. A bloodless snare. Blackfish snorted. The Kingslayer will spurn nets he can smell. Cat breathed. Steady. Then we bait him with what he loves. That evening, Tyrion found Jaime in the lists, tilting with practice lances against a Quinton. Straw and wood cracked beneath measured blows. 2 squires scuttled to reset the spinning arm each pass. The Westerosi sunset spilled crimson across armor that shone like molten coin. Tyrion waited beneath a spruce, arms folded. When Jaime dismounted to drink water, sweat thrilling down his hairline, Tyrion approached. Sir Kevan departs tomorrow with father's reply, he reported. A promise to pull to Harrenhal. Jaime wiped brow. Good. A promise. We'll see if it keeps. His grin faded. You seem troubled. Tyrion twitched a shoulder. Catelyn Stark has invited you to Riverrun's hall tomorrow eve. He lifted brows. A feast in your honor for agreeing to truce. Jaime laughed. Feast for villainy. She hopes I'll choke on trout bones. She hopes you'll trust her guest, right? Tyrion's gaze scanned camp for eavesdroppers. Go. Smile. Let them pour their wine. Jaime studied him. You warn me against trap. I warn you to remember guest right protects both hosts and guests. Catelyn cannot risk breaking it. She risked abducting you, Jaime reminded. True, but not under her roof. Tyrion tugged beard. Believe me, I argued for your attendance. It signals faith and folly. Jaime murmured. He slapped Tyrion's shoulder. Still, you seldom steer me wrong. He turned to squires. Sharpen the sword for tomorrow. Even feasts can cut. River Run's great hall blazed with torches as singers tuned lutes. Platters of stewed lamprey perfumed dark rafters. Kegs of pale ale from Fairmarket chilled in the fountain's basin. Lords of lesser houses trickled in, Vance, Piper, Derry, each eyeing Lannister banners draped beside Tully trout with suspicion, tinged by curiosity. Sir Kevin arrived first, polite nods, hands clasped. Cat greeted him with measured courtesy, offered seat near dais. When horns sounded Jaime's entrance, conversation wilted. The Kingslayer strode through twin rows of guards wearing lions and wolves both. His gilded breastplate gleamed fire bright, yet he wore no helm, and sword remained sheathed. His face bore the easy arrogance of a man too beautiful to doubt himself. Cat met him mid-hall. Sir Jaime, she said, extending hand. River Run welcomes you. Lady Stark, he replied, bowing low. Your hall dazzles. My compliments. Ben? Though. Peace dazzles more. She answered. Let us seek it. They took places. Cat central, Jaime to her left, Kevin to her right, Edmure opposite, Tyrion between Blackfish and Maester Vyman. The meal began, spiced mutton, barley bread, goat cheeses. Wine flowed, arbor gold for Lannisters, robust blackberry for Tullys. Musicians played gentle ballads of chivalry, drowning clank of armored guard shifts. At first talk stayed soft. Harvest tolls, river flooding, Robert's latest progress in the Kingswood boar hunt. But as courses progressed, Cat steered discussion to Ned's arrest. Her voice held iron beneath silk. My husband faces false charge, she said. The realm teeters upon this injustice. Jaime sliced venison. Ned Stark is honorable, but honor often collides with throne's needs. Needs, Cat repeated. The Queen's or the realm's? Jaime's fork paused. The Queen is the realm's mother. And yet mothers can smother, Cat replied. Perhaps a father's voice might temper her. Kevin sipped wine, studying Cat across rim. You propose what? Cat set goblet down. An exchange. Sir Jaime remains under guest right tonight. At dawn he rides as envoy to King's Landing, pledging Lady Cersei that House Stark will forgo arms if Lord Eddard is released into neutral custody. Say, River Run. Pending inquiry. Then Tess. The hall hushed. Edmure stared. Jaime's brows rose. Tyrion's pulse quickened. Blackfish tapped fingers on dagger pommel. Jaime leaned back. You would trust me with such charge? Guest right extends beyond tonight, Cat answered. Betray its sanctity, and every lord from Winterfell to Dorne shall condemn House Lannister. Tyrion interjected gently. And if Sir Jaime delivers, a great if, what of war? Cat met his gaze. War can wait upon justice. Kevin murmured. My sister seldom heeds even her twin. Then perhaps she might heed the king's friend, Cat said, eyes flicking to Jaime. Remind Robert Baratheon of oaths sworn in blood at the Trident. He owes the Starks. Jaime chuckled softly. Robert owes many, rarely do debts trouble him. His mirth faded. Still, I have no wish to see Ned Stark executed. Once he saved my life on that cursed fisherfolk skirmish near the Crackclaw coast. I have not forgotten. And so, Cat's surprise flickered. Ned had never spoken of such. She clasped hands. Then ride, sir. Ride tomorrow. Jaime drummed the table. I will ride, but I do not ride alone. Choose 20 men, Cat offered. All bound by truce. Make it 30, Jaime answered. And add your maester to bear record. Done. Tyrion breathed out. But Blackfish stood abruptly, chair scraping. We bargain with wolves at our gate, he growled. Kingslayer has our rivers locked. He withdraws not 1 yard. Jaime's eyes hardened. I withdraw when father commands. He does so when certain my brother is safe. Then? Blackfish's lip curled. So the dwarf leashes the lion. He turned to Cat. Sister, this is folly. Cat rose as well, voice cool iron. Brother. Enough. Peace demands risk. I will dare it. Edmure gnawed a knuckle but nodded. Around hall murmurs swelled. Lords passing judgment. Weighing gamble. Tyrion tapped cup. Let us bind words in parchment before drink curdles judgment. Agreements were drafted. Wax pooled. Signatures bled across lines. Stark, Tully, Lannister. By candles guttering, Jaime clasped Cat Stark's forearm. For Ned, he said. For Ned. She whispered. Night deepened. River mists wreathed river runs walls. Jaime slept in a guest chamber beneath myrtle-scented rushes, but sleep sat ill upon him. Thrice he woke to phantom scrape of blade. Tyrion, across corridor, lay awake counting his hope's frail bones. Father's restraint, Cersei's compliance, Robert's sobriety, Renly's ambition, Stannis' fury. Too many bones brittle. At third, cock-crow horns blared. The alarm. Tyrion lurched upright. Steel rang in courtyards. He flung cloak, burst into corridor as soldiers pounded past. A Stark guard gripped his sleeve. Kingslayer gone. What? Tyrion rasped. Room empty. Window rope. Escape. Chaos rippled. In Cat's solar, Edmure raged. Blackfish demanded search parties. Cat, pale as dawn frost, clenched Jaime's signed parchment in trembling fist. He swore. She whispered. He's oathbreaker forever, Blackfish spat. Stark guest rights shattered, Edmure cried. The realm will curse us. Tyrion stepped forward. He may yet be within walls. But scouts soon reported a horse stolen from the stables. Hoofprints cutting east, not south, toward the King's Road. Jaime fled alone. Cat sank onto bench, face-stricken. He means to free Ned himself, she murmured. Alone he can slip through lines. He thinks sacrifice will mend war. Edmure slammed the table. Or he rides to warn Cersei and bring the mountain upon us. Tyrion shook head. Jaime rarely thinks beyond blade's length, but he loves me, and he hates being used. He left to right what he sees as wrong, his word broken. Blackfish snorted. Then we jail what remains. Seize Kevin and the dwarf now. Swords hissed out. Tyrion stiffened as guards closed. Cat shot to feet. No. She barked. Not while their peace was broken by us. They stay free. Blackfish glared. Catelyn, Jaime's flight shreds truce. Lannister's spears will march. Then we must prepare. She turned to Tyrion. Will your father believe Jaime betrayed guest right? Tyrion swallowed. Father believes what victory whispers. Cat folded arms. Then we must speak louder. Tyrion. Write him again. Tell him Jaime's flight was his own. Swear we hunt him too. Beg Lord Tywin delay attack until Jaime's fate known. Tyrion nodded slowly. He may listen long enough to sharpen blades. Long enough is all we seek, Cat said. Edmure, send ravens to rob. Summon the north. Edmure blanched, but bowed. Blackfish stomped out to muster river lords. Tyrion lingered. Lady Stark, he said low. My family's pride outweighs mountains. Even if Jaime returns with Ned, Tywin will not forget tonight. Nor will I, Cat replied. But children's lives hang between. We fight last if we must. She touched parchment Jaime had signed. Guest right is sacred. I will honor it even when others do not. Then, Tyrion felt odd warmth for this stern woman. And I, my lady. Perhaps that will be enough. She met his eyes, weary but resolute. Perhaps. Outside, trumpets pealed orders as dawn flushed the east. War's wheel had begun to spin again, but slower, uncertain. Jaime's horse lathered beneath him as he galloped through dew-drenched meadows toward King's Road's northern branch. Mist blurred trees. Pale sun seeped through tattered clouds. He pushed on, heart pounding a rhythm of regret and determination. Fool. He cursed himself. But necessary fool. He could not remain snared like game for wolves. The realm's peace, Ned's life. Tyrion's safety rested in his hands now, not parchments. Near midday he crested a ridge overlooking the Crossroads Inn, its thatched roof patched with new straw since his brother's fateful capture months before. Memory stung. He skirted east. By dusk he entered woods where autumn leaves fluttered red gold. He dismounted, watered horse, and checked his blade. He planned to reach the Trident crossing by next eve. Slipped south among traders. King's Landing lay a week's hard ride. Ned Stark's cell would open before Tywin's legions marched. He must believe it. But as stars kindled overhead, hoofbeats echoed behind. Jaime melted into shadow. 4 riders emerged. Cloaks done, sigils hidden, but blades bared. He stepped out, looking for coin or heads. The lead rider laughed, a woman's laugh, high and cool. She drew hood. Brienne of Tarth, maiden knight in Tully's service these days. Looking, she said, for kingslayers who flee vows. Jaime sighed. Brienne, you of all should understand guest right. I broke none. I left to fulfill it. Now, left to escape wrath. She corrected. Lady Stark wants you returned alive. Then you may escort me, Jaime offered. All the way to King's Landing. Brienne's eyes narrowed. You ride to Queen? I ride to trade myself for Ned Stark. He lifted hands empty. Kill me, capture me, war ignites. Assist me, perhaps peace breathes. Her sword point wavered. Behind her a younger squire, Podrick Payne, shifted uneasily. Brienne's honor wrestled practicality. 3 riders cannot force me back, Jaime said softly. But 3 may help turn history. Brienne sheathed blade. I ride with you, she declared. I will see your claim fulfilled, or your corpse delivered. Charming, Jaime murmured. He mounted. On then, Maid of Tarth. The king's justice waits. North of Winterfell ravens clamored in rookery as Robb Stark read his mother's summons. Snow swirled upon battlements, though autumn lingered south. Winter's breath rose early in the north. Gray wind paced, sensing Robb's quickening heart. The time has come, Robb told Theon Greyjoy and Maester Luwin. Call the banners. King, beyond the wall stories whispered on icy winds. But Robb's mind burned south. Father shackled, sisters captive, riverlands aflame. He strode to Great Hall, voice ringing as he spoke words his father once uttered when war first loomed against iron-born rebellions. Men listened, fists on hilts, eyes bright with northern fire. Thousands would march, but roads were long, rivers treacherous. Robb prayed the truce his mother forged held long enough for his columns to reach the neck. He prayed Ned lived to see him groan. In King's Landing, sun-baked walls shimmered as if the city itself sweat fear. Word of Ned's arrest, of Lannister encampments, of Stark banners unfurling on vapors of the north, all converged into a miasma of nerves. Littlefinger whispered alliances, very scattered rumors like seeds. Pycelle wheezed cautions none heeded. Cersei ruled the small council with eyes like emerald ice. But Robert's thunderous roars still shattered doors. On the 14th day of Ned's confinement, Robert burst into his chambers after a near-fatal boar charge, ended his hunt early. Blood-stained tunic, belly-gashed, wine on breath. Ned knelt before him, but Robert waved off guards. Your leg heals? Good? Mine gut spill, he bellowed. Cersei claims treason. I see only politics. Gods. I hate politics. Ned said nothing, knowing words could prick. Panicked servants fetched leeches. The king cursed them all. As Maester Pycelle stitched wound, Robert gripped Ned's wrist. "Tell me truth, old friend. Are the Queen's pups bastards?" Ned considered. Truth could kill. "I have reason to suspect," he admitted. Robert closed eyes, agony etched. "Kill me before Lannisters do," he muttered. "Promise?" Ned squeezed his hand. "Rest your grace. Let wounds mend first." Robert laughed weakly. "Wounds mend like realm." Slow. He slipped into stupor. Outside the chamber, Varys appeared like shadow. "Dark tides rise, Lord Stark. Your northern sun calls banners. The Queen sharpens claws." "Will she kill me?" Ned asked, voice low. "Not before she secures her cubs," Varys said. "Children are her scales of justice." His lips curved, sadly. "A lone lion rides north with ransom of peace, but may arrive too late." Ned frowned. "Jaime Lannister." "Who else?" Varys sighed. "Pray roads stay clear. A single sword can cut many knots, or tangle them beyond hope." By the time Sir Kevin reached Harrenhal with Tywin's host, ravens from Riverrun and Casterly Rock had already arrived. Tales contradicting. Jaime honored truce. Jaime fled treacherously. Jaime sought Kin's mercy. Jaime sought Kin's mercy. Tywin sat in the Black Keep's shattered throne room, finger-tracing grooves of stone melted by dragonfire centuries past. Fires crackled in braziers, casting lion shadows on ruined walls. Kevin rallied before him. "The boy writes father long letters," Tywin said, voice deep. "He begs delay again." Kevin inclined head. "He begs prudence, which cost nothing." Tywin rose. "Prudence costs prestige. We withdraw now. Riverlords smell blood and call Baratheon banners." He paced past crumbling columns. "Yet Jaime's folly complicates." "He may salvage all," Kevin dared. "Ned Stark's release removes northern cause." Tywin stared at night beyond broken window. "I sent Jaime to court to learn restraint. Instead, he bedded the Queen and begot bastards. I send him to war, and he chases trout. And still I must salvage Lannister honor." Kevin's silence consented. Tywin turned. "Very well. We hold at Harrenhal. Send scouts north. If Stark army crosses Twins, we march. If Jaime returns with Stark in tow, we parley." Kevin bowed. "As you command." Tywin clasped hands behind back, studying charred iron throne of Aegon's vassal. "A lion does not wonder who rules while he hunts," he murmured. "He is rule. Yet even a lion," he reflected, "must at times wait in grass." Storms rolled over Crackclaw Point, spattering Jaime and Brienne with salty rain as they galloped breakneck along forested tracks. More outriders joined, followers of Bracken, outraged at Jaime's trespass. Sellswords chasing bounty, Stark scouts hungry for prize. Each skirmish ended in flight or blood. Podrick collected bruises. Jaime collected regrets. On a dawn when gulls screamed overhead, they reached the salt pans of Maidenpool. The town had barred gates, fearing plague. Jaime bribed fishermen for a skiff. They rowed under cloak of fog across Blackwater Bay, hugging coast. 2 days later, sails of royal galleys loomed beyond glittering waves. The king's fleet anchored in anticipation of Stannis' rumored departure. Jaime's crimson cloak drew arrow eyes. He buried it beneath coils of rope. By twilight, their skiff slid beneath the overhanging walls of King's Landing's postern pier. Brienne leapt first, hauling Podrick after. Jaime followed, knee protesting. "We walk the mud gate," he murmured. "No better disguise than mud." But Lannister guards recognized him regardless. Trumpets hailed. In moments, Jaime stood before Red Keep's looming gatehouse. Swords bristling. Gold cloaks ushered him in. Within torchlit corridor, Queen Cersei swept forward, emerald silk swirling. "Beloved brother." She purred. But fury crackled. "You vanished. Father stews. What mischief have you wrought?" Jaime knelt, proffered sword. "I come to trade my freedom for Eddard Stark's." Cersei's laughter rang crystalline. "Trade? You are no captive. I offer myself captive. Jaime insisted. Release Ned. Avert war. Cersei's smile iced. War secures our throne, dear heart. Stark blood waters northern fear. Jaime rose. Robert is wounded. Stannis circles. Renly schemes. We cannot fight north and south. Cersei's lids lowered. We win. We keep throne. We lose. We burn world. She studied Brienne and Podrick. Remove these. Guard seized them. Brienne struggled until Jaime raised palm. Do not harm. They saved me. Cersei waved languidly. They were dragged aside, but alive. Jaime faced her. Promise me. Ned goes free. Peace holds. Cersei touched his cheek. Oh, sweet brother. Peace is illusion. She turned, voice carrying. Take Ser Jaime to chambers. Send ravens to father. War begins when banners fly at twins. Jaime's heart sank. Even as he tried to break shackles of feud, they clicked tighter. Word reached River Run within 6 days. Robert's wound festered. Cersei rules as Queen Regent. Ned Stark condemned to die. Jaime imprisoned, not exchanged. Cat received the raven at dawn. Tears glistened on unfurled parchment. Across courtyard Tyrion watched as Edmure shouted orders to ready for siege. River bells clanging. Blackfish-geared scouts for delaying tactics. The pause was done. War's drums thundered. Tyrion approached Cat beneath Godswood chestnut tree, turning gold. I'm sorry, he said. She folded parchment, gaze distant. Sorry matters little. My daughters, my Ned. We may yet save them, Tyrion urged. My father values coin and bloodline, offers safe conduct for Myrcella to be fostered at River Run. He will trade. Cat shook head. He will crush. She stepped back. You should leave, Tyrion. Leave? He blinked. Where would I go? Lannister camp spies for my head. Stark camp eyes my neck. I stand safest beside you. Down? She almost smiled. Then pray beside me. Her voice cracked, proud even in grief. Pray war forgets innocence long enough for mercy to act. Tyrion looked at Godswood leaves drifting. The gods are deaf or cruel, he said. But perhaps men may still hear. He drew a breath. Send me to father. Let me bargain. You? Cat's eyebrow arched. I, Tyrion affirmed. With traitor's stigma, yes, but still his son. If Jaime's capture means nothing, perhaps mine still weights his scale. Cat studied him, searching motives. And you would risk? He shrugged. Risk and I are old friends. He extended hand. So? She clasped it. Ride swift. And if you betray me, you will feed me to your wolves. Tyrion nodded. Understood. By moonrise, Tyrion rode west, escorted by a single Vale Knight and Bronn. Behind him, River Run's towers receded like fading candles. Ahead lay Harrenhal's black mass and Tywin's unforgiving gaze. War loomed across plains where autumn's first frost silvered grass like grave shrouds. But within Tyrion hope guttered still. So long as words remained unspent, they might buy something. A breath, a pause. A boy's spared life, a girl's safe passage, a realm's brief reprieve. And if words failed, if swords ruled, he would yet weave them into epitaph. Above, stars scattered like thrown dice across velvet sky. Tyrion tightened cloak, spurred his pony, and rode into the glimmering dark where destinies bent with every hoofbeat. The wheel of conflict churned heavier. Robb Stark's banners crossed the neck. Twins demanded toll, and Walder Frey extracted oaths of marriage and alliance from a son he had never met. Rivers echoed with march songs. Nights flickered with watchfires stretching horizon to horizon. At Harrenhal, Tywin tested catapults, Whetstone singing against axe. Across Iron Islands, Balon Greyjoy unfurled Kraken standards, smelling inland chaos like fresh carrion. In Dragonstone's storm-lashed keep Stannis Baratheon cast ravens into darkness, declaring himself rightful king under the fiery gaze of a red priestess, newly come from Asshai. Yet amid swelling tide, a lone dwarf approached Harrenhal's iron gate, bearing no sword, only parchments sealed with trout and direwolf seals entwined. Guards parted. Tywin awaited on a ruined balcony, where the moonlight struck his hair, silver pale. Tyrion bowed deeply. "Father," he intoned, voice carrying across cracked stone, "I bring you terms to end a war not yet lost, but certain to bleed us deeper than coffers can fill." Tywin's eyes were yellow ice. "You presume much, son." "I presume survival," Tyrion said. "Yours, mine, Jaime's, kingdoms." Tywin's gaze flicked behind to night escort. "Leave us." When they were alone, he stepped closer. "Speak." And Tyrion spoke, of guest right and broken oaths, of queens who burned alliances to warm fears, of kings who drank themselves into graves, of children bound in chains invisible, yet heavy as red gold crowns. He spoke of rivers that could ally with lions if trout and wolf were appeased by mutual blood debt. He spoke until dawn's first light glimmered and ravens cawed overhead. Tywin listened, stern as carving on tomb. At last he said only, "You will draft letters." "I shall consider." Tyrion swallowed. "Time is arrow. Delay, and it flies." Tywin inclined head infinitesimal. "Then let us catch the bow." As Tyrion turned away, relief mingled with dread. Peace might still be forged in furnace of ambition, but steel cooled swiftly. Behind him, Tywin Lannister stood, silhouette against pale sky, pondering whether to temper blade into plowshare or sword. The realm held breath once more, balanced on edge of a dwarf's words and a lion's will. Far to the north, white winds howled across wall, scattering snow like shards of bone. In King's Landing bells tolled for Robert's waning life, echoing across narrow streets, where whispers of bastardy and rebellion roamed. And at River Run, Cat Stark knelt before a candlelit altar, praying for ravens to bring news of mercy before war's howl drowned all. The game unfolded, pieces sliding, players circling, the board trembling with the weight of fate, and somewhere within its intricate shadows lingered a faint, stubborn hope that honor, wit, and love might weave a thread strong enough to bind a kingdom fraying at every seam. Aika, Indedja. Wind moaned through the shattered ramparts of Harrenhal like a beast denied its prey, rattling loose shutters and swirling wood ash across the courtyard where the Lannister host had bivouacked among half-collapsed keeps. Dawn bled miserly through slate-gray clouds. Fires guttered as cooks spooned oat gruel for squires still drunk on yesterday's pillaged Dorish wine. Into this raw hush strode Tyrion Lannister, boots slick with mud, cloak snapping like a pennon as he crossed the outer yard toward the Tower of the Widow. Pale torch flames trailed after him, throwing skewed shadows across walls, pocked by Aegon's long-dead dragonfire. He found Lord Tywin in an improvised council chamber high beneath the tower's broken crown, where a shard of ceiling hung like a jagged blade over a war table fashioned from an overturned door. Maps lay weighted by iron daggers. A single brazier hissed with pitchy smoke that stung Tyrion's eyes. Beside it stood Sir Kevan, steely as ever, parchment clenched between careful fingers. Opposite, Lord Tywin warmed gloved hands above the brazier, his great cloak sewn with golden lions that caught firelight in cold flashes. "You are late," Tywin observed, not looking up. "I am a dwarf, not a courser," Tyrion answered, drying rain from his brow. The roads were generous with ruts and bandits. "Excuses." Tywin reached for a goblet of watered wine. Sipped, then set it aside untouched. "Show me the Stark terms." Tyrion proffered a sealed roll, wolf and trout entwined. A symbol hammered out the night before under Cat's watchful gaze. Kevan cracked the wax and slid the letter before Tywin. Eyes like smelted brass skimmed each line. Tyrion watched for the smallest twitch, measuring where his father's temper might fray. He saw none. Only when he finished did Tywin lift his gaze. They offered Jaime in exchange for Lord Eddard's safe return, with assurances of northern neutrality should the king release the hand and proclaim an open inquiry. Tywin recited. They stipulate hostages. 2 Frey wards fostered here. 2 Lannister wards sent north. Laughable. It is a beginning, Tyrion said. Jaime's capture would hurt more than his willing surrender. Jaime will not be captured. He lies in the Queen's grip, which is to say, mine. Nepotistic idiocy aside, Cersei has sense enough not to squander him. Tyrion's jaw clenched. She has sense enough to spur every house in the realm against us. Tywin's gaze sharpened. Mind your tone. Cersei protects her son's crowns. Crowns forged of lies, Tyrion murmured. Kevin cleared his throat. Our spies confirm Stannis has dispatched a raven to every great lord proclaiming Joffrey's bastardy. The Stark lords already suspect. If Stannis moves, Renly will not wait. Wow. Tywin's fingers tapped the map. Which is why the North must be broken before Southrons choose sides. Walder Frey reports Robb Stark rode from Winterfell 10 days past with near 20,000 spears. He skewered Tyrion with a glare. See why patience ill serves us? I see dead lions lining riverbanks should we strike before we must, Tyrion replied. Robb is green, yet not so green hell fight fair. The boy inherits his father's stubborn honor. The boy inherits wolf blood, Tywin corrected. It howls at sense of weakness. We march tomorrow. Tyrion exhaled. Then at least march smartly. Split Jaime's host and feint towards Seaguard. Let the wolves chase ghosts while you fall upon their rear. It is done. Tywin flicked hand. The matter closed. Draft a reply. Promise them we will treat with Robb Stark when he arrives at the Twins. Meanwhile, I tightened the noose. Tyrion bowed stiffly. Ace my lord commands. He turned to go, then paused. If we spill rivers of blood today, father, there may be no realm left worthy of a crown tomorrow. Tywin did not answer. Sparks leapt behind him in the brazier, snapping like teeth. Tyrion thought them apt punctuation, and left. Hundreds of leagues north a cold wind traced the crenels of Winterfell's outer wall, carrying snowflakes even as crimson leaves still clung to the weirwood in the godswood. Robb Stark strode the yard, while grooms tightened cinches on a column of shaggy northern destriers. Chainmail rustled beneath his sable cloak. Grey wind padded silent at his heel, hackles twitching with the promise of fresh trails. Bran and Rickon watched from a balcony, faces pale, while Maester Luwin recited last-minute missives to a swarm of departing ravens. Theon Greyjoy swung up beside Robb, grin rakish. Listen to them, he said, nodding back toward the emptied great hall where banners whipped. They call you the young wolf already. A pup, Robb muttered. Names win no battles. Names do when they frighten foes. Robb mounted his courser. Grey wind bounded up, eyes shining silver in the dim dawn. Father once told me fear cuts deeper than swords, Robb said. But swords still cut. He raised a mailed fist. Form ranks. Hooves thundered. From Winterfell's gates the first outriders galloped, banners snapping. Grey direwolf on ice-white field. Robb's war horn sounded 3 long notes, mournful as wolf song. Stark men answered with cheers that chilled Theon's skin. The column moved, a living river of steel headed south, leaving tracks in snow that melted beneath the weight of their purpose. Catelyn Stark knelt by the bedside of Lord Hoster late that same evening. Moonlight puddled across her father's thin face, catching every tremor as fever coaxed him toward distant dreams. His eyes fluttered open, blue clouded to milk. Tansy, he whispered again. That eternal mystery. Cat brushed his brow with a cool cloth. I must ride tomorrow, father, she murmured. Robb comes. He will need me at the Twins. Hoster's breathing rattled. War, he croaked. Blood in the rivers. Guard. River run. I will, Cat promised, even as guilt gnawed. She had sworn it many times. Each time felt thinner. Blackfish entered without ceremony. Ravens from the Twins, he said. Walder Frey demands formal courtesies. Robb must arrive before sunset on the new moon or cross unattended. Cat straightened. Freys never miss a chance to fleece travelers. Walder smells power. We'll ply him with it. Brynden laid a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Go to your son. I'll hold the river. Cat squeezed his fingers. And Edmure? Stubborn as Riverstone. He sighed. But he listens when I shout. She managed a brittle smile and rose, cloak swirling. Outside, Riverrun's torches shimmered on currents that carried distant thunder. Cannonades of rowing oars, perhaps, or drums of marching men. She tried to breathe through dread. The wheel was turning faster, south of the neck, deep in the bog-choked wilds of the Crannogs. Jojen Reed dreamt fires along the Trident and wolves at the gates of a burning city. He woke shaking. Reeds rustled around the hidden camp where Crannog spearmen guided Robb's advance. At dawn, he sat with Sister Mira and whispered what he'd seen. Wolves at which gates? Mira asked. All of them, he said softly. The flames reached even the wall. Mira's mouth tightened. She sought Sir Galbart Glover, urging him to relay message to Lord Stark. But Glover was busy guiding columns through treacherous causeways. There was no time for portents. Jojen returned to bedroll, clutching his father's frog spear, fearing words unsaid might drown with the next tide. In the Red Keep, shadows stretched long in the Queen's ballroom, where Cersei gathered the court to celebrate Prince Joffrey's name day early, using revelry as distraction from the king's failing health. Tables groaned beneath figs, lamprey pies, spiced Dornish sausages. Minstrels plucked lutes in uneasy cadence. The Iron Throne loomed empty. Robert lay delirious, bled by leeches in the privacy of his solar. Rumor said he cursed any who approached, save his wine cup. Sansa Stark curtsied before the dais where Joffrey sat, crown askew. Her smile trembled as Cersei praised her grace and loyalty to the realm. But when the Queen's gaze drifted, Sansa's eyes darted to the gallery above where Sir Ilyn Payne displayed Ned Stark's greatsword ice, like a macabre trophy. She swallowed tears. Ghosts of Winterfell's snows brushed her lungs with frost. Halfway through the feast, the great doors slammed. Ser Barristan Selmy strode in. White cloak spattered crimson. Lutes fell silent. Bor, he announced, voice echoing. The king is dying. Screams erupted. Cersei swept to feet, face blanching. Joffrey bolted upright, chalice clattering. Sansa gasped. Her lemon cake tumbled. Littlefinger slipped into shadows. Varys folded hands, silent. Cersei barked orders. Bring him to the throne room. Prepare Maester Pycelle and my sons. Her gaze met Jaime's empty seat. Fury flashed, but she masked it quickly. Sansa stood frozen as a charred log until Sandor Clegane's rough hand steered her away. Keep hostage safe, the Hound muttered. Sansa walked, thoughts whirling around the single word. Hostage. In an antechamber, Grand Maester Pycelle fussed over wounded king transported on litter. Robert's face was yellow wax. Wine fumes still clung to him. Ned Stark, hobbling on crutch, followed, having forced past guards to kneel at bedside. Old friend, he whispered. Robert's lids lifted. Write it. The king rasped. Boys, Regent, you. His fingers twitched. Ned took a quill from Pycelle, penned the words. But instead of, my son Joffrey wrote, my rightful heir, trusting that truth would out when necessary. Cersei snatched the parchment before wax could seal, eyes flickering as she read. That night, Robert Baratheon, first of his name, died. Bells tolled across King's Landing at dawn, tolling also the threadbare possibility of tranquil succession. 3 days later, Jaime Lannister knelt in the Queen's solar before his twin. Candles guttered. Her eyes blazed in their reflected light. Robert is dead, she said. Joffrey reigns. I need your sword at his side, not gallivanting through river mud. Mamisabi. Your king will have it, Jaime answered. But Ned Stark must be freed. We cannot fight the North and Stannis and Renly. Renly fled in the night. Cersei snapped. Stannis broods on rocks. The North whelps wine but have no fangs. Fangs grow. Jaime rose. Send Ned to the wall. Let him vanish. His boy will stand down. Cersei's mouth curved. I warned you. Peace is illusion. The North remembers. It will remember that Stark men died at your blade during the Warden's Rebellion. Then? That war ended when Robert forgave, Jaime argued. Different king, different forgiveness. She stepped forward, cupped his cheek with cold palm. We rule by fear, not favors. When wolves approach, we show teeth. Jaime's jaw hardened. Then show them mine if you must, but have sense enough to muzzle the mountain. Every village the brute burns breeds 3 new rebels. Her eyes glittered. See to it yourself. Gregor obeys you. He met her gaze helplessly. The mountain obeyed no one but gold and slaughter. Yet Jaime nodded, turning away before the cost of their crowns weighed more than his heart could carry. At the twins, a rain-swollen morning greeted Robb Stark's arrival. Frey soldiers peered down from battlements, crossbows ready. Walder Frey emerged onto a covered balcony, rheumy eyes appraising the column. Beside Robb rode Catelyn. Hood up, gray wind padding ahead, hackles lifting at Frey's scent. Robb dismounted, hands bare of weapon. Lord Walder, he called. I require passage south to relieve my father. I bring 20,000 good men. I can bring them through your gate or through your walls. Then? The Frey Lord cackled. Flame-laden? Boastful pups. Walls bite back harder than gates. He spat into the river, then shrugged. I lost 3 wives last winter to chill. The twins could use warm blood. Wedding blood. Catelyn stepped forward. You ask a marriage alliance? 3, to be precise, Walder said. My son Stevran's youngest girl delights in music. Your Greyjoy ward may fancy her. Your Lord Robb shall wed one of my granddaughters when the war ends. She is comely enough if one squints. And Arya Stark will be troth-plight to one more. In return, I grant crossing, provisions, and 1,000 spears. Then shall. Theon bristled. Robb paled. Cat closed her eyes. She imagined Arya spitting like a cat at the notion. But there was no choice. We accept, she said. Robb turned sharply. Mother. We accept, she repeated, voice steel. Write the pact. The swords you save today may cut your shackles tomorrow. Walder grinned. Wise wolves, come cross. Mind you wash before supper. My lad sweat. He vanished. Robb swallowed pride. Grey wind growled low, but followed when banners moved. Cat whispered to her son. A lord keeps vows, even those he despises. Robb met her gaze and nodded, though bitterness trembled in his smile. Word of Robert's death rode the King's Road faster than any army. From Dragonstone, Stannis declared himself king by right of blood, his sigil aflame with a heart of fire, while a woman in red preached that the night was long and full of terrors. From Highgarden, Renly Baratheon unfurled the stag within the Golden Rose, and proclaimed himself the true healer of the realm. Dorne watched and weighed. The Iron Islands whispered of old rebellion rekindled. At Harrenhal, Tywin learned of Renly's claim and laughed. 2 stags butting horns, let them bleed each other. Yet he doubled foragers, for supplies would thin if Riverlands burned. Tyrion returned from Raven Rookery, cheeks wind red. Stannis has the fleet, Renly the reach. Should they ally? They will not, Tywin said. Pride shatters brittle coalitions. Lannister pride included, Tyrion murmured. Tywin's glare silenced him. That evening, Tywin convened lords in the Hall of 100 Hearths. Though only 3 hearths still stood, blazed through monstrous shadows of men plotting maps. Sir Emery Lorch demanded pillage of Derry to starve Starks. Sir Gregor Clegane wished to ride again, burning Maidenpool and salt pans. Tywin assented with curt nod. Fear, after all, could clip supply lines as sure as siege. Tyrion watched, stomach sour to eye. He thought of Cat Stark's belief in honor, Robb's green bravery, Ned's quiet integrity. He saw them trampled beneath boots of men like Clegane. When the council ended, he lingered by the dais, until only Kevan remained. We have one chance, Tyrion said quietly. Take King's Landing before Stannis. Hold Joffrey's claim with father's power. To do so, we must outpace Robb's army. Nenawand. Kevin rubbed beard. Harrenhal to King's Landing is long march. Shorter by river, Tyrion countered. Send half army by barges down the Blackwater. Strike before gates shut. That weakens this front. This front is lost if King's Landing falls, Tyrion pressed. Kevin regarded him. You would command. Someone must who thinks beyond loot. Tyrion steadied breath. Let me. I will tame Joffrey's tantrums, muzzle the hound, bribe the city. Kevin's eyes softened. Father will not yield the van to you. Then convince him I am the lesser risk. Tyrion laughed hollow. Failing that, I'll climb into a barrel and float to the city alone. Beyond the wall, ghost lights danced atop the Frostfangs, while Jon Snow stood his first watch from the wall's icy height. Ravens brought rumors even to that lonely place. A dead king, a boy king, a northern host marching. Jon's heart pulled south. Duty chained him north. Samwell handed him soup. Jon barely tasted. Late in night, Ghost perked ears, sniffing wind. The dire wolf growled at darkness, stretching to endless frosted pines. Some terror stirred there, older than kings or thrones. Jon laid a hand on Ghost's fur and whispered, Not yet. I'll fight my battles where I stand. As summer's last warmth sighed from the land, Tyrion rode east from Harrenhal with a swift escort. Bronn, Shagga son of Dolf, and a motley wedge of Lannister outriders, bound for the capital. Tywin had granted him leave at Kevin's insistence. Win the city, his father ordered. Only then speak of Dwarf's council. They traveled hard, skirting smoking villages left in the mountain's wake. At Maidenpool, charred beams jutted from heaps of ash. A mother cradled a dead babe on the green, rocking and humming lullaby to silence no ear could break. Shagga grumbled that stone crows should have teeth in such a fight. Bronn kept one hand on hilt, wary of starving dogs. On the third day, as they passed through rolling hills dotted with apple orchards, refugees clogged the road. Peasants with bundles, barefoot children, maesters afoot. Tyrion reined up beside a cart, leaking straw through split boards. Where do you flee? He asked a bent old man. South, away from lions that burn, the man muttered, not recognizing the badge on Tyrion's cloak. South, away from wolves that howl, away from kings and crowns and death. Tyrion watched him trudge, guilt weighed tenfold. Later, around campfire, he sipped watered wine and whispered, Bronn, who wins this war? Bronn spit into flames. Who's left breathing? Tyrion stared at sparks rising. Let us try breathing then. King's Landing stank of fear when Tyrion arrived. The small folk had stripped markets bare. Prices soared thrice daily. Gold cloaks roamed in packs, demanding bribes to protect shops, then looting once coin spent. On the mud-choked docks, Stannis' loyal ships had quit anchor, leaving Joffrey's banners flapping lonesome. The city looked like a fat goose expecting the boil but too frightened to bite. Tyrion's party clattered through Gate of the Gods, and was met by men in crimson cloaks. Lannister guards under command of Sir Jacelyn Bywater. Jacelyn saluted. The Queen expects you, my lord. She expects many things, Tyrion said. Lead. He found Cersei in the small council chamber, candlelit despite late afternoon. Beside her loomed Petyr Baelish, soft smile fixed. Varys fluttered fans at perfume. Pycelle dozed, drooling whiskers. Joffrey sprawled on the hand's chair, iron circlet tilting over pale brow. Uncle, Joffrey shrilled. Have you brought me heads? Merely advice, Tyrion said, bowing. The city brims with restive subjects. They clamor for bread and assurance. Let them clamor, Cersei said. Our gold buys bread. We have less gold than rumor claims, Tyrion replied. Pater. Littlefinger spread hands. Coin flows out as fast as it flows in. Levies, loans, privateering. Soon we'll mint tokens from horsedung. Tyrion nodded. We must secure allies. The Tyrells may back Renly, but coin can coax neutrality. I suggest we invite Lord Mace for betrothal talks. Cersei's eyes narrowed. Our daughter is not barter, yet she may be a shield. Tyrion's gaze slid to Joff. We also require iron rations, Siege engineers and wildfire. Joffrey perked. Wildfire? Like at the defiance of Duskendale? Precisely, Tyrion said. The alchemists guild hoards more than they admit. We shall purchase every jar. Cersei frowned. Risky. Desperation breeds daring, Tyrion replied. Stannis sails. Renly marches. We must make the Blackwater our furnace. Varys tilted head. And what of Lord Stark? Tyrion turned. Where is he held? In the black cells, Cersei said coolly. Confined, not harmed. Yet. Tyrion inhaled. Pardoning him would rob the North of pretext. Joffrey scowled. Traitors die. I want his head. Tyrion approached the boy slowly. And I want a dragon, yet we rule the realm we have. If you behead the hand, you sever every hope of reconciliation. Wolves will swarm. And now, they swarm already, Joffrey muttered. Cersei watched Tyrion closely. Suspicion simmering. We shall consider. She waved. Rest. You look road-weary. Tyrion bowed and withdrew, though rest would come no more than summer rains. That night, he walked the Red Keep's ramparts, listening to the city breathing fear. Behind him, Bronn sidled up. You plan to rule? Bronn asked. Survive first, Tyrion said. Rule after. And me? You, Tyrion smiled. Get richer. Bronn grinned. Far across Blackwater Rush, Stannis Baratheon studied charts within the painted table chamber. Melisandre hovered, red robes rippling like tongues of living flame. Storm's End stands secure, Stannis said. We sail for the capital with sunrise tide. A darkness grows there, Melisandre murmured. Many shadows move for the Iron Throne. One shaped like a dwarf, one shaped like a boy king. Both burn alike, Stannis replied. Lightbringer yearns for justice. She laid fingers on his wrist. First you must cast off false gods. The city's septs reek of betrayal. Mend. Let them burn when I rule. Stannis turned back to table. We strike swiftly before Renly can muster Highgarden's gardeners and Dornish lizards scent opportunity. No distractions. Melisandre's ruby glowed. Even dragons. She whispered. But Stannis had turned away, leaving her smile to flicker like candle wax. On the trampled highway below the Blackwater's eastern ridge, a company of Sellswords marched north. Banners crimson with a golden sun and broken chains, the second sons newly hired by Tywin's gold. Their commander, Mero the Titan's bastard, guzzled cheap ale and boasted of rapes to come. Near dusk they rounded bend to spy a slender boy alone astride a mottled horse, ragged cloak hiding face. Mero raised hand. Halt. That horse is worth more than its rider. The boy's voice rang clear. Come claim it. Mero laughed, spurred forward. The boy flung cloak, revealing full plate of Tully crimson, helm feathered blue. Gray wind burst from shadows, fangs flashing. From scrub rose 50 Stark outriders, led by Great John Umber. Spears gleaming. The Titan's bastard saw too late the trap. By night's fall his Sellswords lay butchered, and the Great John rode west to supply Robb with prisoners. News of the ambush would reach Tywin days later, stoking fires of caution. In Riverrun's chapel, a single candle burned for every man lost beneath lion banners, wax puddling like blood. Edmure Tully knelt among them, hands bandaged from sword drill. Each flame flickered with memory. Farmers roasted in fields. Tarbeck mill children cut down like wheat. He prayed to Seven to lend him courage, though he doubted gods hollered above roaring forges of war. Outside, ravens circled tower tops, restless as if sensing storms. Blackfish distributed fresh scouts, but more and more returned describing razed hamlets, mutilated corpses bearing wolf sigils pinned by arrows. A false flag clearly, but rage rarely paused to parse truth. Catelyn, riding back from the twins, arrived to find camp feverish. She saw in men's eyes thirst for vengeance beyond strategy. She spent night walking tense, speaking calm. Her voice soothed, but war drums throbbed louder. The next dawn, a golden banner topped with a black stag approached under white flag. Sir Cleos Frey dismounted, bearing a letter kissed by wax. King Joffrey demanded fealty, surrender, and the head of Robb Stark for treason. Catelyn ripped the scroll. "Tell your boy King the North does not kneel." Cleos fled. Blackfish watched banners recede. "No path left but battle," he said. Catelyn touched the hilt of her father's old sword hanging upon hall pillars. "Then battle finds us with honor intact." Night gathered thick as pitch over the whispering wood, that knot of dense forest west of River Run, where trickling streams gurgled secrets under moss-heavy boughs. Robb Stark crouched behind fallen elm, studying a map in torch glow. Theon and Greyjohn flanked him. Roose Bolton stood silent, expression unreadable. "Lannister scouts rode this path at dusk," Robb said, finger tracing. "Jaime commands a vanguard 6,000 strong, camping beyond the wood by Riverbend. If we smash his outriders tonight, we close the passage. Trap him before father's rescue." "None?" Greyjohn cracked knuckles. "Let me take the van. Lions piss themselves when real men roar." Robb shook head. "We need quiet. Grey wind leads us through ravine. Archers fell sentries, foot surround camp. Once panic blooms, we sweep spears. Howls for horns." Theon grinned. Roose Bolton's thin lips hinted at smile. Silent approach suits, flayed men. Robb met his eyes. "No flaying. Prisoners treated fair. We need our father back. Not more graves." "No." Bolton inclined head, though his eyes gleamed like knives in moonshine. They moved, 6,000 cloaked in drab, torches quenched save the faintest lanterns hooded. Grey wind loped ahead. His sudden barking signaled first sentry. Arrow hissed. A man gurgled. Silence closed. Within an hour, wolf banners ringed the Lannister camp. Jaime's men slept off day's march. Only few guards stood watch, their torches too few to see the forest bleed. Robb lifted hand. Horns blew 3 soft notes. Hell erupted. Wolves sprang from night. Sword hilts flashed. Tents blazed as overturned lanterns spilled flame. Jaime Lannister burst from pavilion half-armored, golden hair wild, shouting for men to mount. Robb spurred his horse straight at him. Spears parted before Direwolf's banner. Grey wind bounded, snarling. Jaime wheeled, parried Greyjohn's axe with priceless Valyrian blade. Cursed Umber's laugh. Chaos churned. Horses screaming, timbers collapsing. Boltons cut silent arcs, leaving red ribbons. Amid clamor, Robb guided mount through smoke, heart hammering. He caught glimpse of Jaime hacking through line toward wood. Robb gave chase. Theon followed. Steel rang as Stark outriders blocked escape. Jaime fought like the song told, a whirlwind of glittering edges, but numbers pressed hard. When his horse stumbled on a corpse, he spilled onto mud. Robb leapt down. Sword leveled. Jaime rolled, rose to knee, blade up. Moonlight glinted off predator smiles. Grey wind snarled inches from Kingslayer's throat. "Yield," Robb said, voice steady. Jaime's breath steamed. He surveyed encircling spears, smoke and flame. In that moment, arrogance flickered to wry defeat. He dropped sword, sinking to both knees. Robb exhaled, sheathing blade. "Bind him." Greyjohn hauled Kingslayer upright. Jaime's laugh drifted bitter. "The lion is in the wolf's den," he quipped. "Feed me well, pup. Father starves hunters who waste prizes." Robb turned away, but Theon muttered, "Your father will trade, Kingslayer." "Perhaps," Robb said softly. Torchlight danced in his eyes, fierce and young. "Tomorrow we ride east. River Run awaits its prisoner." "Now, sir." At Harrenhal dawn arrived pink, painting puffs of cloud like bruises across sky. Tywin stood atop gatehouse with spyglass, watching dust plumes where his outriders returned. When messengers knelt, He listened, face carved from marble. Kingslayer taken. For a heartbeat nothing moved, then he lowered glass. Sound the muster. We march for Robb Stark's head. Kevin touched his arm. We strike blindly if we abandon siege works. Tywin's voice rasped. We avenge my eldest, or we break the North's heart. Position men at Harrenhal to delay Riverlords. I ride with half force to the Twins. Then? Scouts galloped off, drums rolled. In valley below, tents collapsed in whirlwind of mobilization. Do I know? D-Ray. Tyrion, just returned from capital, heard horns, and hurried to gatehouse. Father, your city holds. Tywin snapped. For now, yes. Then hold it longer. I ride. He started downstairs. Tyrion followed. You chase a trap. Stark means swap. Tywin spun, cloak flaring. He means humiliation. Jaime will not be paraded. Wolves learn fear. Tyrion matched stare. Then at least take me. Wolves might hear reason from the cub you hold. Now. Tywin's eyes narrowed. You tempt fate. I breathe it. Tyrion drew deep breath. Your army needs shrewd tongue as well as iron fist. Silence crackled. Finally Tywin grunted. Very well. Ride. But speak one ill-chosen word, and I'll gag you. Tyrion bowed. I'll speak measured. They rode by noon, columns shimmering in heat. Behind, Harrenhal's broken towers watched like mouths agape, exhaling the future in char and ash. In King's Landing, wildfire production doubled under Tyrion's written orders, even in his absence. Pyromancers hummed to green light, eyes glowing mania. Cersei paced battlements, suspicious of absence but pleased with jars filling cellars. Joffrey loved to watch test conflagrations on ants. The hound stomped out one such game, snarl deepening. Sansa dreamed of snow. Thick, silent, blanketing chaos. She prayed each night that Robb would arrive soon. She did not know he already marched toward Capital's gates, carrying Jaime Lannister like a golden bargaining chip. In black cells, Ned Stark listened to dripping water, each plink marking heartbeats of realm. Yorn from the Night's Watch visited, offering escape disguised as a brother. Ned refused. My honor binds me, he said. Truth will out. Yoren shook head sadly. Truth seldom walks free. Weeks passed. Armies converged. Tywin thundered east along river while Robb cut south with Jaime in chains. Small skirmishes erupted like sparks. Mallister archers ambushed Lorch's baggage. Clegane burned Acorn Hall. Tully outriders harried supply wagons. Rain hammered plains, turning roads to sludge. Plague spread among starving refugees. The stranger rode each night. Tyrion, exhaust clouding eyes, managed supply lines for father, bribed frazzled quartermasters, wrote orders to King's Landing urging ration control. Ravens grew weary at his constant missives, wings tattered by storms. One moonless night outside Pink Maiden, Shagga burst into Tyrion's tent. The Lord's boy has escaped, he announced. Tyrion blinked. What boy? The Golden One. Kingslayer. Shagga said, grinning through matted beard. He loosened chains, slew 2 guards, rode into dark. Tyrion cursed. How? Some fool woman freed him. Shagga shrugged. Pretty, with short black hair. Brienne. Tyrion's mind spun. Whatever bargain Jaime struck with her, he'd risk all for freedom. And without Jaime, Robb's leverage vanished. War resumed in earnest. Tyrion rushed to father's pavilion. Tywin already armored. Your brother loose, he said. Spies say he rides north, perhaps to barter again. North, Tyrion echoed. Or east to break siege at River Run. Tywin snorted. Irrelevant. Stark army crosses Trident at dawn. We engage. Tyrion's heart hammered. If he crosses father, he controls supply. Withdraw south of river. Draw him out. None. Tywin glared but signaled aid. Orders. Fall back to Ashmark Crossroads at dusk. He faced Tyrion. One more loss and Ned Stark dies regardless. Tyrion swallowed. Another death. Another stone on grave of hope. Brienne and Jaime rode through night, fleeing both wolf and lion banners. Dawn found them at a ruined sept, candles long melted into dried wax rivers. Jaime leaned against a cracked statue of Mother, rubbing wrists raw from manacles. "You risked all," he said, voice oddly gentle. Brienne sat opposite. Sword across knees. "For Catelyn's daughters," she replied. "She trusts you once more." Jaime barked a laugh. "Foolish trust. Do not make it folly." She warned. "Ride to King's Landing, free Ned Stark." Jaime met her gaze. "Free him? I cannot undo past. You can mend present." He exhaled, looked toward eastern sky. Somewhere beyond lay siblings' clutch. Somewhere south father's wrath. He remembered Ned's mercy years prior. "Very well," he said. "But if your queen breaks her word, I'll carve my own path." Brienne nodded. "So long as that path spares girls." Daylight spread. They mounted again, turning south. At noon, Robb Stark's host reached the Red Fork where fords ran shallow. Scouts reported Tywin in retreat. Suspicion coiled. Catelyn urged caution. Edmure demanded pursuit. Theon voted for bold crossing. Robb studied sky. Clouds bruised purple, promising deluge. "We wait," he decided. "Secure bridgeheads. Send outriders to flank. Wolves strike when prey falters." That night, rain slashed camps. Fires hissed to steam. Robb paced alone near riverbank, gray wind splashing beside. He felt near invisible tension in air, the space between heartbeats before sword clash. He thought of Sansa, Arya, Bran's wide eyes, Rickon's laughter. He thought of Ned in chains. He whispered into rain, "Hold fast, father. I'm coming." Across the river, Tywin's men dug trenches in slick earth, eyes darting at thunder. Somewhere behind lines, Tyrion wrote yet another letter, ink blurring and damp, pleading father to heed caution, not pride. When he finished, quill snapped between fingers. "Words," he hissed, "bleed slower than steel, but bleed they do." He folded parchment, sealed it, to Cersei, urgent. He prayed a raven might outrace war. In King's Landing the raven arrived at dawn. Cersei broke seal and frowned at Tyrion's scrawl. "Rust. Jaime escaped. Or Escalades. Trade Ned Stark, now or face united North and Riverlands at gates. Dragons awaken in rumors, fleets move. Save throne, use mercy." Cersei crushed letter. Mercy is weakness. She looked to Ilyn Payne polishing ice. Prepare the stage. That evening, she summoned court to Baelor's great sept. Sansa, tremulous, was placed before dais. Joffrey ascended steps, voice amplified by stone vaults. "My mother warns mercy encourages treason, yet I shall be merciful." He gestured. Guards dragged Ned Stark into light, beard ragged, legs still stiff. He met daughter's tearful gaze with calm. "Confess?" Joffrey proclaimed. "Confess your crimes, call me rightful king, and mercy given." Sansa's plea echoed. "Please, father." Ned thought of wolves at river, of daughter's life, of old promises to protect his children. He knelt. Eddard Stark. Confess treason of plotting against my king. Joffrey Baratheon." Gasps rippled. Ned swallowed. "I accept mercy." Cersei exhaled relief. Varys nodded, satisfied. Yet Joffrey's eyes sparkled with cruel triumph. "Cerylin," he announced, "bring me his head." Horror erupted. Cersei wheeled, hissing, "No!" But Joffrey waved her off. Guards seized Ned. Septa screamed. Sansa fainted. Ilyn lifted ice, moonlight glancing cold across edge. On walls, Arya Stark watched through throng, hidden by Yoren. She felt whirl slow as blade rose. Tears blurred. The sword fell. Baelor's statue loomed. silent witness. Far across Blackwater, lights of ships wavered as wind shifted. And beyond rivers and trenches, across night-drenched plains, wolves lifted muzzles to sky and howled.